A Blox Fruits player, born as nothing more than an ordinary mortal, thrown into a world where survival is earned through blood, battle, and relentless ambition. They carve a path through tens of thousands of enemies, conquer warlords, slay mythical beasts, and defeat legendary beings that history itself deemed untouchable. With every victory, they transcend the limits of humanity, until at the peak of their journey, they ascend into something far greater, a godlike being standing beyond the reach of any mortal. But that raises one question: just how powerful are these players? Today, we're going to answer that question the only way worth answering it with real physics, real energy, and numbers so large they stop making sense. And we're not just going to measure how hard they hit. We're going to measure everything: how hard they are to kill, how fast they heal, how long they can fight, how far ahead they can see, what they can carry, and what they're worth. Every single stat. We're going to start with something you can kill in the first 10 minutes of the game, and by the end, we'll be standing at the edge of the observable universe. So take a breath, because once we start climbing this ladder, we do not stop. It starts with a monkey. The gorilla, one of the game's earliest enemies, has exactly 220 HP, and in the real world, reliably taking down a living gorilla costs about 10,000 joules of energy. Set those two equal, and every point of health is worth roughly 45.5 joules of durability. Aim that at a max-level player walking around with 16,700 HP, and you get 720,000 joules of pure durability, over 72 times tougher than the gorilla we started with, enough to soak the punishment it would take to drop 72 silverbacks one after another. And it doesn't even stick, because they regenerate faster than you can wound them, fueled by an energy bar that refills almost as fast as it drains. So they fight, dodge, and heal in an endless chain and never tire. The body simply does not break. Then there's speed, and this is where the game stops obeying reality. Max players routinely dodge attacks the game explicitly calls beams of light. And if you take that literally, their reaction speed detonates to Mach 874,000, the speed of light itself, over 1,000 times faster than a bolt of lightning. Fast enough to circle the entire Earth in 3 minutes, or reach the moon in 20 seconds. To a normal person, they wouldn't seem to move at all. They'd simply vanish and reappear where the fight was already over. And they don't just move that fast, because with instinct they sense enemies through solid walls in every direction at once, and dodge attacks before those attacks even land. They don't react to danger. They've already seen it coming. Now they hit back. A single punch with no fruit at all lands with 150,000 joules, enough to pulverize concrete and tear through steel plate like a grenade going off against your ribs. And that is only the floor. The gravity fruit multiplies it 1,000,000 times over, calling meteors down from the sky and crushing everything beneath invisible fields. 150 billion joules in a single strike, enough to wipe an entire city block off the map. The Quake fruit splits the air itself and raises tsunamis the size of islands, on the order of 183 quadrillion joules, roughly 3,000 Hiroshima bombs detonating in one punch. And at that point, they aren't fighting battles anymore. They're rearranging geography and deciding which islands get to keep existing. Then comes the light fruit, firing attacks made of true light, and relativity is brutally clear here, because accelerating anything with mass to the speed of light would take an infinite amount of energy, which means a single one of those beams isn't planet level or star level or even galaxy level. Scaled literally, it could carry enough energy to erase the entire observable universe. And the portal fruit goes further still, because if the Blox Fruit Sea is truly infinite, a player can cross an infinite distance and return in an instant, which means effectively infinite speed, all while tearing open dimensions themselves. And once you're rewriting reality like that, physics simply stops returning answers, and a bounty capped at exactly 30 million, the highest threat rating the world is even able to record. Because when the world runs out of numbers to fear you by, you've already won. So that's the answer to the question we started with. A body that can't break, senses that read the future, fists that erase cities and beams that erase universes, and pockets that quietly hold mountains. A being who started as nothing, an ordinary pirate farming gorillas for scraps of experience, who through nothing but relentless progression ascended into something the math itself can no longer measure. They began as a pirate. They ended as a law the universe has to obey. So the next time you spawn in on that quiet little starter island and swing at your very first gorilla, 220 HP, 10,000 joules, one single step, just remember, that's not the weakest enemy in the game standing in front of you. That's step one of a climb that ends at the edge of everything.